All right, we are here with the ladies of BlackRock. We have star Lake Bell, we have director and star Katie Asselton, and we have star Kate Bosworth. So, Katie, I'll start with you. This is based on a story of yours.
Yeah.
Now, what comes
It was
first?
more based. It was a concept, an idea I had of making this sort of girl-driven thriller.
Now, what comes first? Does it come first, the idea of it, or the wanting to make like a genre horror film?
It wasn't that I wanted to make a genre horror film. It was more that I wanted to. I wanted to make something that wasn't a relationship-y, talky type movie. And I needed to get outside of the house because the freebie was all interiors, and I thought I was going to lose my brain. I loved the idea of getting really physical and hurting someone, and maybe myself.
And so, how fast did this all come together? Because I know the script was written in a very short amount of time.
Yeah,
and
the first draft of the script was really fast. The concept I had been sitting on for a couple of years. We structured the story out. Mark wrote a really quick first draft and sent it over to me, and then we batted that script around for, a couple months. And then Lake signed on, and Kate signed on, and then we blasted through this movie. And truthfully, by the end of the premiere last night, it was like I had finished a marathon. I had like that letdown feeling of like, oh, and it was the same thing of like after my wedding, I had the exact same reaction of like, oh my God, it's over. That was so intense. It was like, and because truthfully, I was a year ago, I spoke to Lake about doing this. Kate signed on like in March-ish. And so it was that fast. It really was just a whirlwind of a year where we, did an intense pre-production, production, post.
I mean, it's an intense film, though, so it's like you kind of want to mirror that experience because I think
and that's what I
it'll
sort of
pay
meant
off.
when I introed it last night. Like it has been a thrill ride from start to finish. Like I didn't expect for us to go into production as soon as we did. Like I thought it was going to take some time to convince girls to do this movie. And maybe in retrospect it would have had you known how hard it was going to be. But
do it all over again.
Oh, good, you signed on for the sequel.
I just will pack warmer clothes.
Yeah. It will take place in Maui.
Yeah, that we did talk about. We were like, if we ever did it again.
The sequel's taking place in Hawaii. Now, for Lake and Kate, what drew you to this? Why did you sign on to it?
I mean, do you want to speak first? Or should
We'll probably say the same thing.
I know.
Who's going to say it better right now?
All right, you do it. You do it. You're closer to the camera.
Who's
Well,
going to be
I'm
nice?
just a fan of Katie and Mark's, so I was excited to, get a script from them, and the script really started a certain way, which is very true to your style, very kind of character driven, and characters having their own conflict and some comedy as well, and then the script just takes such a drastic kind of severe turn into the way of the thriller. And I really was intrigued. I thought if they apply their style to this type of genre, then I think viewers are going to have one heck of a ride. Because I felt that way reading it. So.
Now, where was this location, first of all?
It was on the coast of Maine in a really small town called Millbridge, which is where I was born and raised.
And now, I don't know. It's hard to tell how big it is in the grand scope. I mean, was it difficult to shoot in the woods and all that stuff, and dark and?
Yeah. I will. I mean, I will say we shot with the Arri Alexa, which shoots beautifully in low light. So it wasn't like we had to bring out 20 generators and have 1,000 lights. The Arri shoots really well in those types of scenarios. What was difficult, more so than the woods, were the beaches. Was getting all the equipment down cliffs onto beaches. And then, when you're shooting on a beach on the tip of the coast of Maine where the tides are really high, you lose your location every 6 hours. Either it gets much bigger or much smaller. And when we were shooting the fire scene, my DP was up to her shins in water. The water was coming up over our C-stands. It was just creeping in, but the scene was going really well, so we just kept going for it. And we were like, where is the high water mark, which changes throughout the month? And so we kept on saying, it's here. And we were like clocking the tide and saying, no, this is the highest tide. And somehow we were so off. It kept going up and up and up.
It's closer.
It was really close. By the time like it was fully up there, people were fully submerged. I had to leave frame at one point to go into the woods, and you hear me in the back in certain takes going through the water to get out. So that was really difficult. And then a lot of the scenes that you see, we actually shot on an island that had no power, no plumbing.
Oh.
There wasn't plumbing in a lot of the places where we were.
Woods.
I got to be in the woods with Lake Bell and Cape Boston. So yeah.
That's awesome.
You're
Now,
very intimate.
But there was a lot of lugging of equipment back and forth. The load in and load out every day was intense, and often involved a 30-minute lobster boat ride to an island.
It was a nautical load in and load out.
do you shoot a film like this in sequence because it starts? Yeah, I mean, you seem
We
very.
shot almost completely in sequence. I think there were very few things that were shot out of
Because
sequence.
by the end of this film, I mean, you can just tell on your faces, you guys are just like,
Yeah.
wow.
But also, you put that makeup on it final. It brings you there pretty quick.
Yeah.
That
We
final.
had also been through it.
We had also been through it.
Now,
There was that as well.
one of the more intense scenes, I think, is shared by, I think, Katie and Lake when you go through the water and you have to get out and you have to take off your clothes and you have to. Was it really that cold? Because I felt it was one of the most
in the
well acted
beginning,
scenes.
but truthfully, the body thing it worked.
It does work, but
I remember by the end of
we
those
were
scenes, I'd
really
be like,
that
I'm
cold.
warm.
Yeah.
You start off that cold though, like it was
really cold.
It was frigid. The water,
Being wet in wet clothes coming out of that ocean.
the air temperature that night that we were shooting those water scenes was 43 degrees. The water temperature was 45. So
Wow.
it was cold, and we had wetsuits on, and we still could be only in the water for 5-minute increments without getting hypothermic.
And now, is that a difficult scene to shoot? I guess I imagine as a director,
It was the most
it's difficult because
scene
you're
to
in it.
shoot, and we prepped and prepped and prepped and had meeting after meeting after meeting to prepare for that movie, for that scene, and we still were underprepared. There's no way you could over prepare for a scene like that and have it not be chaotic. And I had, Mark was there that night to be me because I was in the water and I clearly couldn't see anything or vocalize anything. So there was a lot of meetings of like, this is what this is going to look like. It was fully storyboarded. We had coordination of boats. We had coordination of first aid stations. We had coordination of warming stations.
And yet it was limited. Because
And yet,
obviously
at
we're on
the
a
same
low
time, like I
budget.
said, like that night, it still wasn't enough. It was the most physically demanding thing I could possibly imagine doing. I really don't,
It's the most grueling experience I've
Yeah.
ever had at work.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe
And I'm trying to
ever.
think of like a scene in another movie that I could be like, no, that was probably harder. Like aside from Hilary Swank getting raped in Boys Don't Cry, which they shot for like 5 days, and that might have been more difficult, but that was on an emotional level. But like this, I can't imagine it being more difficult.
it was a physical.
I said like they
I-
had to go to the hospital. Like she went into an asthmatic
Really?
attack that lasted for 12 hours. And thank God my dad was the town doctor.
Yeah, we went to the town doctor. Thank
And I
God.
sent her in there and,
But mind you, and this is the kind of thing where I'm like, yeah, I'll do anything, whatever. Like I got it, and it was it was challenging.
What scene was this?
temperature,
Was it
the water?
the water scene?
Being in the water. Even though it feels pretty short in the film,
Yeah, you
we
should,
really
like-
couldn't be in the water more than 5 minutes because you can't be in the water more than 5 minutes for your health.
Yeah.
So-
So that line in the film was legit.
Yeah,
you
that was
literally
real.
couldn't
the
be
line
in
in
the water.
the film said
15
15 minutes, but because we were shooting in June and this was set in late summer, in June we literally, our first aid guy was saying, you guys are turning hypothermic. He was looking at our gums, our pupils, and like our
White
adrenaline
gums.
was going, and we were
So
like,
we're
no,
like,
let's do it.
we're
Let's go. And he's like, no, you guys are literally hypothermic
Yeah.
right now. You have to stop.
Now, the final shot is very piercing too. I mean, did you kind of envision what you would
No,
look like, or
we
did you say
actually-
just make me look really fucked up?
No, that was like the actual makeup of how we looked at the end of that scene. So it wasn't like the makeup was, we kept adding the makeup after we would do a stunt. So like everything was built on top of it. So by the time we got to that, that was just how I looked. But that as an end shot was not our original end shot. We have an entire like epilogue,
Oh, really?
yeah, of the film. But it really,
I come back.
it took the steam out of it a lot. Like it was, I loved the idea of ending it on this girl who has changed forever. It was very sort of powerful image.
It felt very primal. Like that last image just felt like it brought like to the most, stripped down human experience of an animalistic primal place. Like that's what I got. Was just like, this is where we started as human beings in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was quite an incredible shot.
I feel like that was the last thing we shot.
That was our last.
Because I have photos of you with rap. You were in that makeup.
Yeah, you sent me that.
Yeah.
Is that something you think you'd put on a DVD? The epilogue?
The epilogue? Maybe.
Kinda
Honestly,
show people
because
what-
truthfully, a lot of it is my fault as a filmmaker. It was not shot properly. The coverage wasn't quite there to make it as poignant as possible, and but there was some lovely moments in that scene. I was really sad to lose. So there's a part of me that probably would put it on a DVD.
Now, I guess we'll kind of start wrapping it up and talk about camping in really remote places, and if this has turned you
Should
off
we do it again?
from ever camping in really remote places. Are you campers?
Well,
Do you guys
Kate
camp?
is an avid camper.
Yeah.
This girl, you can't get off a campground.
I have a tent in my trunk of my car.
She just loves roughing it.
Yeah, I love it.
So I mean, this doesn't. You guys will go camping and this experience will
My
never.
husband, Mark, loves camping. He's obsessed with camping. So I can't be like, but what if 3 servicemen are just back? No, I can't keep him away from it. So as soon as like our kids get old enough to get back camping again, there's a great place to go camping that is right outside the vineyards in Santa Barbara. So you can do like wine tours all day and then camp it.
That's called glamping.
You know what I am
I'm a
curious
big
about?
fan.
Fast, the 3 soldiers. Was it always that when you were coming up with the villains for this?
No.
Where did your mind go through when trying to
No,
figure
we
out
were
who's
trying-
chasing them?
We were really trying to find something simple and not overdone and not. I didn't want people to be like, oh, hillbillies, we're doing hillbilly, like that kind of thing, or deranged people. I was like, maybe they've got like a meth shack out there. Like meth is really big in that area in Maine. I was like, maybe they got a meth thing. I was like, oh, that just feels played out. I have a meth place in Maine.
Everybody does.
Everybody does.
So,
It's a thing.
for us, it was like, we wanted someone who was a tick off, and certainly, it was a very delicate ground to tread on, using people just home from Afghanistan. And so for us, and then I saw Restrepo. I think that was the big thing that sort of was a turning point, which really, that film really got me and really affected me and how changed as human beings these boys were coming home, and how easily it could be that one of them was seriously damaged
Unhinged.
in the head.
Now, quickly, where are you guys doing next? What's going on? Kate.
I did a film called Big Sur with Michael Polish that I'm excited about.
Cool.
I have season 4 of The League coming up this summer, so that's my immediate, and more immediate than that, I have another Duplass coming out. So that's
Congratulations.
exciting. More Duplasses.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I just finished Children's Hospital season 4, and she was going to be shit
why
for that.
that's so funny.
I don't know. I'm directing my first feature, starting in February.
Is it based on a short?
It's not based on the short. It's similar
based on
totally.
BlackRock.
No, no, it's a comedy, but it's slightly different. Similar tone.
Awesome. All right, great. Thanks,
Thank you so
guys,
much,
and BlackRock.